Hello, welcome to Lesson 9 on case studies of multifunctionality in agriculture. In this lesson, we will look at some examples from Europe and developing countries. We will then reflect on the lessons learned and best practices. The aim is to understand how multifunctionality is implemented in real farms, depending on the context in which they operate. Are you ready? Let's get started. First of all, do you know of any examples of multifunctional farms? Have you ever visited one? If so, what did you like most about it? What surprised you? And if you've never done so before, I highly recommend looking for a multifunctional farm in your area. Visiting it can be a great way to better understand the concepts we've been discussing in this course, and of course, it can be very fun. So let's now have a look at some examples, as we said, of multifunctional farms. And let's start with Europe. So in Europe, multifunctional agriculture has been increasingly supported through policy frameworks such as the Common Agricultural Policy, which incentivize rural diversification, agro-environmental practices, and the preservation of landscape and cultural heritage. A well-documented example of multifunctional farms in Europe come from Spain, where extensive agricultural systems such as dehesas and cereal pseudo-steppes embodied a multifunctionality model. These systems support biodiversity conservation, soil and water regulation, and cultural continuity. Research highlights how the dehesa system, which is an agro-silvopastoral landscape found in southwestern Spain, not only produces meat, cork, and acorns, but also delivers ecosystem services such as carbon sequestration, soil erosion control, and bird habitat protection. These landscapes are deeply embedded in local identity and sustain small-scale rural economies. However, policy challenges persist, including the mismatch between agro-environmental support and market-oriented pressures toward intensification. The Dehesa is perhaps the oldest example of agroforestry in the Mediterranean, a paradigm of the circular economy where domestic and wild animals graze in the shade of holm oaks and cork trees. However, this delicate ecosystem has been threatened by years of neglected and mismanagement. Many of the holm oaks are dying from disease, and the pasture have lost their fertility, and in some cases, all their topsoil. The good news is that farms such as Vivencia Dehesa in southwestern Iberia are demonstrating how regenerative management practices can bring a degraded landscape back to life. Agriculture and nature are not mutually exclusive. On the contrary, when managed intelligently, an agroforestry system consisting of trees, grasslands, and livestock is much greater than the sum of its parts. So I really recommend you watching this video on YouTube where the Vivencia Dehesa story is explained properly, and you can hear the experience of the technicians sharing their experience, and also you can see beautiful images of these amazing places that I really recommend you to visit one day. Okay, then more European examples. A second European case comes from Poland, and it shows how the shift toward agroecological principles and short food supply chain helps revive multifunctional farms. In the southeast of Poland, smallholder farms practicing mixed cropping and direct marketing contribute to local food security, preserve traditional practices, and strengthen rural communities. A third European case comes from Italy, from the south of Italy. It's a multifunctional regenerative organic farm called La Petrosa. You can see it here in the photo. So this farm is a very great example of multifunctional farm. It's a family-owned farm, which is run by three siblings, the ones you can see in this photo. It's a mixed farm, so there is livestock, vegetables, agroforestry, fruit trees, and cereals, arable crops. It's located in southern Italy, specifically in Campania region, and the production is mainly wheat, bread, sweet and savory biscuits, pasta, goat and cow milk and cheese, olive oil, fresh vegetables, tomato sauces. The farmers sell these products through through different sales channels. 98% of the products are sold directly, so they do direct selling. 50% of this are sold through tourism in the farmhouse or the own restaurant and camping. And the rest is sold through the farm shops and local farmer market. So here you can see some of the practices, some of the organic regenerative practices they are implementing on farm. So as I already mentioned, they have agroforestry systems, they are doing compost, and also they're using cover crops. So they use these specific crops to not leave the soil bare during winter or summer. They also do mulching. So they use straw or other materials to cover the soil, for example, in the vegetable garden. And this is very important for water cycle restoration. They also do animal rotation through holistic grazing. So animals are spending some time, a long time actually, in the fields. And when doing this, they do not stand on the same field for the whole time, but they are rotating in different fields. And this is really good for soil health, especially because having the animal all the time in the same field would ruin the soil strongly. In this way, there is a nice synergy between the animals and the soil, so both benefit from each other. And also, of course, the pasture improves. And then regarding soil management, they do no till seeding, no plowing, or minimum tillage. So they minimize the soil disturbance. And this again has very good results and increase soil fertility while still, of course, allowing the farmer to produce and have satisfying yield and revenue. Okay, so what are the outcomes so far from this farm? The farmer declared that the soil is looser, it's easier to work with the soil. The soil organic matter, which is the key to soil fertility, has increased, as well as biodiversity. And the farmer experienced a big reduction in pests and diseases in his crops and animals and livestock. So the lessons learned, according to Edmondo Sofriti, which is the farmer you see here in the photo, is this one. It is very important to share experiences, but at the same time, it's necessary to experiment directly on your farm. Each ecosystem is different and reacts differently. This quote was released to Climate Farmers. You can go on their website to find out more. And here there is this very nice video, which I really recommend you to watch. where you can see the farm, you can hear the farmer's voice, you can hear his experience with multifunctionality and organic and regenerative agriculture, and you can see his beautiful farm and get fascinated by it. Okay, now let's move to another country, another continent. And let's see some multifunctional farms from developing countries. So, in developing countries, multifunctionality often emerges organically as smallholder farms play vital roles in food security, social cohesion, and environmental resilience. In Vietnam, for instance, the use of integrated rice-fish systems enables simultaneous food production, nutrient recycling, and income diversification. So as you can tell, there are several benefits coming from these integrated systems, which are really fascinating and really special compared to what we usually do in Europe. So to learn more about this and especially to see pictures of it, I really recommend you this video, which is about rice fish farming, but this is specifically from Indonesia because this type of system is also very much developed in Indonesia as well. So watching this video, you can learn more about it. Indonesia's rice fish farming is a sustainable agriculture practice where fish are raised in flooded rice paddies. The system creates a symbiotic relationship. Fish waste acts as natural fertilizer for the rice, while the fish consume pests and weeds, reducing the need for chemical pesticides again for the rice crop. So the benefits include increased crop yields, a secondary income from fish harvesting, improved soil health, and greater biodiversity in the system. So again, I really recommend you to take some minutes to watch this video and learn more about this very nice example of multifunctional farming system. Let's go back to the European continent and let's see this example from Russia. So in Russia, private farm households represent a unique multifunctional model. Despite limited state support, they contribute significantly to national agricultural output, while also serving social and ecological functions. As shown in the Samara region, private plots in remote settlements support biodiversity through diversified livestock and cropping systems, while maintaining community identity and resilience. Other interesting example from another continent, from the Americas. In Latin America, multifunctionality intersects with food sovereignty and indigenous knowledge. Agroecological transitions in countries such as Brazil and Ecuador are framed around land rights, biodiversity conservation, and traditional agricultural systems. These practices challenge the export-oriented monoculture-dominated paradigm, positioning farming as a socio-ecological practice rather than a purely economic activity. Now, lessons learned and best practices from multifunctional farms around the globe. Several key insights emerge from the case studies. The first one, policy alignment is crucial. Successful multifunctional systems are typically backed by coherent agricultural environmental policies. The Spanish Dehesa and the CAP support schemes exemplify this. Then, another lesson learned. Context matters. Multifunctionality is highly place-based. While agroforestry thrives in Mediterranean regions or tropical regions, integrated rice systems are better suited for Southeast Asia. Tailored policies are essential, though. Third, social capital boosts multifunctionalities. Where farmers are organized in cooperatives or benefit from strong local governance, for example, like in Vietnam and Poland, multifunctional outcomes tend to be more sustainable. Fourth, monitoring and valuation tools. The development of indicators and framework enables better tracking of multifunctional contributions, especially when used to justify public fundings. Fifth, diversification is not a luxury but a necessity. Especially in marginal areas, multifunctionality is often the only viable pathway to economic survival, environmental stewardship, and social stability. In conclusion, multifunctionality acts as both a strategy and a vision for the future of agriculture, one that balances production with broader ecological and societal imperatives. Now, before concluding this lesson, I have a few questions for you. I will read them to you one by one. You can pause the video and answer them. Then we'll see the answers together. Let's get started. What makes the Spanish Dehesa system an example of multifunctional agriculture? What policy challenge affects the long-term sustainability of the Dehesa system? How do Polish smallholder farms contribute to multifunctionality? What multifunctional benefits are provided by Vietnam's integrated rice-fish systems? Why are private farm households in Russia considered multifunctional? A few more. How is multifunctionality linked to food sovereignty in Latin America? What is policy alignment important for successful multifunctional agriculture? How does the local context influence the success of multifunctional agricultural system? What role does social capital play in strengthening multifunctionality? And last one, why is diversification considered essential, especially in marginal rural areas? Once you're ready, we can move to the answers. Let's look at the answers to the previous questions together. So, regarding the Dehesa systems, what makes it an example of multifunctionality? The Dehesa system combines livestock raising, cork, and acorn production with ecosystem services, while maintaining strong cultural and economic ties to local communities. What policy challenge affect the long-term sustainability of these systems? Well, there is a mismatch between agro-environmental support schemes and market pressures towards intensification. How do Polish smallholder farms contribute to multifunctionality? They apply agroecological practices, mixed cropping, short supply chain. All of these enhance food security, preserve tradition, and reinforce rural communities. What multifunctional benefits are provided by integrated rice-fish systems? These systems enable food production, nutrient recycling, pest control, income diversification. Then why are private farm households in Russia considered multifunctional? Because they contribute to national food production, protect biodiversity, and maintain social cohesion in remote rural settlements. Regarding multifunctionality, food sovereignty in Latin America, we said that in countries like Brazil and Ecuador, agroecological transitions emphasize land rights, indigenous knowledge, and biodiversity conservation, challenging export-oriented monoculture systems. Then, why is policy alignment important for successful multifunctional agriculture? Because coherent agro-environmental policies as in CAP's supports for the HESA system, ensure that multifunctional practices are adequately incentivized and sustained. And then the last few ones. How does local context influence the success of multifunctional agricultural systems? Well, different environments favor different practices, so policies must be tailored to local conditions. What role does social capital play in strengthening multifunctionality? Strong farmer networks, cooperative and local governance enhance knowledge sharing, resilience, and the long-term viability of multifunctional practices. Last one, why is diversification considered essential, especially in marginal rural areas? Well, diversification supports economic survival, environmental protection, and social stability where conventional intensive agriculture is unviable, making multifunctionality a necessary strategy for resilience. So this is it for now. Thank you for listening to this lesson and keep learning. Don't miss the next lesson to continue discovering the many aspects of multifunctionality in agriculture. There is still much to learn, and you certainly don't want to miss this opportunity.